roster of players, and hopefully we can see some of that performance that they displayed earlier on against the likes of Dominion reflected in this performance as we get well and truly underway in Game 1 between Nami Brigade and Dustsucker. And for me, I think this is going to be a tale perhaps of two very varying play styles. And well, Dustsucker, they're known for sort of their wide spacing and their very, very mechanical presence on the field. Nami Brigade, very different in that element.
I can concur somewhat with that after having watched them in the upper final against Paradise, it going the distance. Dustsucker seemed to be relegated to sitting back and being that counter-style teams. We see here a big chance, just the very same thing. I'm talking about it. It's like clockwork. They do it so well. They allow the opponent to push onto them, wait for a 50, wait for a kick-out opportunity, maybe a pass up the field. They didn't even need one here, and shoot it into a wide open net. Paradise fell to this problem multiple times. They lost 2 games because of it. If Nami Brigade start to be doing the same thing, I really worry for them, because despite the fact that they've got through 2 best-of-5s to get here tonight, that shows a scrappy nature, but it also shows that they're vulnerable to errors and not quite able to adapt in time to to stop an opponent getting in the swing of things, to gain that momentum. And Dustsucker really seem like that kind of team to me, so it's a threatening vibe right now for Nami Brigade.
Absolutely a threatening vibe. I couldn't put it better myself, but looks a little uncomfy at the back for Nami Brigade. Easily dealt with by the defense at the end of the day, though. Zamberg is going to take to the skies and look for a flip reset. Central with Demo coming through to open things up. Charlie B! He's going to try and lunge across his own back line. Simply can't get there in time.
It's one of those beautiful plays where it's all in the setup. I mean, Tempo, of course, has to place this well enough to get it past CB, and actually does end up hitting him in the first place, but it all came from Zamberg. Got that reset, touched past the defender, made that chance what it was, and this time has allowed Dustsucker a rapid 2-goal lead, maybe 3, as Dansku fakes out 1, flicks it over another. Tempo is there to try and finish it, gets the touch around. The disruption from Zamberg was available as well, but somehow Nami Brigade get away with avoiding a 3-0 deficit this quickly into a game of this nature, this stature for Nami Brigade. They should be thanking this. Oh no, I'm just going to stop talking. I'm going to stop talking, Psycho. Because Dustsucker are too good, okay?
Yeah.
Too good at scoring goals.
It does seem that way, doesn't it, at the moment? Dustsucker providing some of that electric offense which we were highlighting just moments ago, and well, I said they were a team full of mechanical presence, and it might not have been shown to its fullest extent right now, courtesy of the clumsiness at the back from Nami Brigade, but nonetheless, Dustsucker certainly pushing the agenda themselves, as Zamberg is just going to let the opponents come towards him. They've already generated this comfortable lead. Now all they need to do is keep it.
What's even more frightening about that is they haven't needed to use that mechanical prowess yet. It's in the back pocket. It's just waiting up their sleeve to come out whenever they need it. They maybe could have used a little bit more of that against Paradise. Of course, you can't take away from Paradise's ability to defend against that style of play, but it didn't really seem necessary. And right now it's not necessary at all from Nami Brigade. 0 shots. They barely had any time to get offense forward. CB does get one to the backboard, and Morgan there to finish it, maybe, but the post denies. I'd like to see this, though. CB with boost, coming off the ceiling, going for the fake out with the musty as well, but the power was lackluster. Morgan to try and follow up, but Dansku's right there. Another shot from Daiki is just simply too high. Dustsucker survived the first and only onslaught from Nami Brigade in 3 minutes.
Absolutely, and Nami Brigade, they were so close to getting 1 on the boards, courtesy of a bit of magic from Charlie B. Truly would have been a world-class finish. It was a strange shot he went for. It looked like he was going for a musty, then he pulled out, and then he tried it again once he got the reset. Absolutely blew my mind, but it didn't go in, and that's what matters. And Nami Brigade, at the moment, they have so much liberties at the moment. They know, or rather Dustsucker, they have so many liberties at the moment to play with, and I feel they've played out a little too hard.
And this actually ended up being an own goal. Can you believe it? They saved this one. Tempo was there. That's cleared out. But Dansku committed anyway. It ends up just undoing that work. And this is Rocket League from Tempo. I'm not surprised, mate. Got a great save off the line, but it won't be enough to shut out Nami Brigade completely as they get 1 on the board. Still not too much threat in my mind from Dustsucker's perspective. They made 1 mistake and it allowed them to get through, but the boost retention is still strong. The midfield control is enough to make Nam Brigade think they need more to get through here, but a throwaway ball did allow a clearance. Zambog with a free shot. That will be wide, but it could be put into a dangerous position. Now Morgan just to send it back to Daiki. Still pressure on Zambog here to pick up a ball by Dansko. A wide open net. Zambog's going to try and finish it. He'll get the assist, you could say, as it's an own goal from Nam Brigade. Once again, regain that 3-goal lead, and with a minute left in Premier, you really don't expect any sort of comeback here.
No, not at all. And it seems for Nami Brigade, their defensive positioning has gone out the window at the moment. I feel there's so little time on the clock that they don't care about their shape at the back. They're just trying to work anything they can. And Nami Brigade, I often reference as being a very controlling side. When they do have the tempo in their favour, they are so good at maintaining the pace, baiting in the players from the opposition, and just working around them, really. They're very smart and intelligent players, but when you're coming up against a side with the pace of Dustsucker, I'm not sure that's going to be enough to push you across the finish line.
Yeah, and you mentioned hope, being hopeful. Hopefully, at the start of this series, it won't be enough for Nam Brigade. They're going to need more than that to beat a Dustsucker side that's, you could say, in form. They only just lost that upper final by a single goal. Not single, I'm completely lying. It was by 3 goals, but in that final game, you felt they could have had more. But they've got so much more than Nam Brigade at this moment. You called it out. You think Dustsucker are that mechanical prowess type of team. So much play from tempo, from Zambog, the ability to get control of the ball, go for aerial touches, reset. Something, I mean, it's the expectation, you've got to say, in Premier, but it's still beautiful to see it when it's done so cleanly, so effectively, and not quite enough for a 4-goal lead here for Dustsucker, but I'm not sure they'll mind too much. This is the comparison I wanted to make. Dustsucker wasn't able to do this against Paradise. They just had that control at the edge of their box. They knew when to commit, when not to commit, and they were just so good at shutting down that style of play. Nam Brigade have shown very little in terms of that.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. It seems that they were completely shut out of the match in the latter half, and they were just getting suffocated by that crucially aggressive offense from Dustsucker, just tearing them apart at the seams. And unfortunately for Nami Brigade, they just couldn't get a foothold whatsoever.
I mean, it's in the name, Dustsucker. It's not a far cry to say that they're sucking the oxygen out of the room and suffocating Nam Brigade, as you said, diving on that as quickly as I could, Psycho. I love the analogies and the things that we can bring out for this this game to describe things, because sometimes it just gets a little boring saying the same thing. Oh, guy hits ball goes in net, that's fun, they win, it's, you know, done, dusted, we go home. But right now it's Dustsucker that are trying to send Nam Brigade home. With that first game, we did see this in game 1 of the upper final as well. Dustsucker took it in a 3-1. It was a bit of a formality. It was 2-1 most of the game, and then Paradise came out in the second game, reset, refigured themselves, and they ended up winning it 3-1 themselves. So if Nam Brigade can do the same thing, expose Dustsucker in their own weaknesses, you know, there's that exploitation of the fact that, you know, single players, if there's 1v1 chances, then Dustsucker for the most part are exposed, then Nam Brigade could really take it. A great kickoff chance though, did give them a window. They couldn't quite peer through it.
And it would be a shame if Nami Brigade were to fall at that almost final hurdle after what's been a really miraculous run through the lower end of things. And right now is the time they need to bring forward that tempo and that confidence to continue. It's a really unfortunate, clumsy goal conceded at the back, but Daiki, he did the best he could. Dansku working for a 50-50, and the space was there to pounce upon. And I believe it was one of the blue players who once again put it in their own net.
It just seemed like one of those situations. You can't do right for doing wrong. Morgan, I mean, there's nothing he could do. He had the ball hit into him. I think they actually had the clear across the net. CB looks for the double tap. He's going to whiff it, though, and Daiki isn't quite in position to try and salvage that opportunity. But again, yeah, it just came from throwing something in the gears, and Nam Brigade completely broke down. The machine destroyed itself, you could argue, in the way that play went, you know, played out. But Dustsucker happy to get those, happy to sow that chaos and thrive in it. Nam Brigade seem like that regimented style of play. They want to be precise with their movement, with their positioning and their placement of the ball, and Dustsucker just aren't allowing it.
Absolutely, and Dansku's going to try and provide some more electric offense from the side of Dustsucker with a flip reset, but nothing gives that time around as Daiki and CB are going to work and collaborate to regain some possession in their own corner, as Morgan is going to work the ball forwards into the corner. Perhaps get a touch to a teammate if there is going to be a follow-up, but it's not strong enough. It's blocked away by Tempo.
Still midfield pressure coming through for Nine Brigade. Morgan with enough boost, maybe not enough to get it through, goes flying past the ball, tried to dive on it again, but Dan's good to clear out. CB with time and space, but he throws the ball away, can't keep it close. It's just going back and forth from wall to wall right now. They can't control it. It's just a wild creature trying to grab a hold of it, trying to put it in the back of the net, but it's not going to work out for them still in this red half. However, Tempo can only throw it to CB, who's going to drop it down for Morgan, but Dansku's already there. Tempo's going to beat out Daiki, maybe. No, just a 50 dead to the middle. Zamberg with enough to get it past the second man. Morgan fakes him out, but then gets bumped for it, gets it past another one, trying to keep this offense alive, but a midfield battle continues to ensue. Tempo cuts it out there as he tries to go for the double tap. Morgan and CB just about get it away, both with the ball, and it's sort of a reset right now.
Absolutely, but it looks dangerous this time around for Tempo, and Morgan's gone and thrown the ball away and just about clambered back to it. Morgan, you deserve to concede on that time around, but he's gotten away with it as Zamberg. Oh, they got away with it, they truly did. And Dansku is going to try and keep this pressure rolling for just a little bit longer as another booming clear comes forwards, only to the hands of Zamberg. Straight back into the corner we go. Tempo to the backboard now, and Daiki just striking back possession where it belonged in the first place, and Dustsucker completely relentless at the moment.
Oh no,
my goodness.
Tempo, what are you doing? Zero boost going up for this. The sheer confidence, just enough to get the slightest little nick on it. Angle perfect. 2-goal lead secured once again with 2 minutes left to go. A brace as well. Dansku with the 2 assists. Zamberg is just window dressing at the moment. I don't know if he minds that, but his teammates are doing most of the work. He's still getting in great positions and creating chaos for Nami to deal with. But stars of the show, Dansku and Tempo, not quite enough to keep this one out, however, as Nami Brigade finally get one in a meaningful position, you have to say, as they have the deficit. A great counter-attacking play. Morgan sends it under the defender, and that's the way you want to get back into a game.
And you're absolutely right. It was clumsy from Dustsucker, but it was a meaningful goal for Nami. And the little overextension from Dustsucker, taking too many liberties with their comfortable lead, was instantly punished by the side of Nami Brigade, and that is what they do best. Structurally, this team is usually even more sound than they are at the moment, and you have to think you're going to be punished when you attack like that.
The great battle continues. The team that's trying to be methodical, make sense of their play, get through logically, and work things out. Trust the process, you might say. And the opposite side, just trying to disrupt it as best they can. Throw things off of their rhythm. Get disruptive, get demo-y, get annoying. Be menacing. And it continues to be Tempo looking so menacing. Both players on Nami Brigade stuck on the goal line there. CB had to come flying in to take it away from that tough left bin. 2-goal lead here would, suffice it to say, make things extremely difficult for Nami Brigade to prevent a match point situation here for Dustsuckers. A big pinch opens it up. Morgan with a shot with the equalizer, and that's exactly what you want to see for Nami Brigade. They adapted. They were somehow ready for this. Tempo is read by CB there. I think he was assuming the shot was going to come through, but ends up going the opposite direction and potentially an overtime on Forbidden Temple.
Potentially so, and hopefully you're not going to jinx this one, because I'm preparing myself. I'm locking myself down for what could be a very interesting affair indeed, as Dustsucker almost on cue after the first time I said they were taking liberties in their offense, just throwing themselves at the play and really just expecting not to be punished. It's 2 times in a row now they've conceded in that similar manner, where there was just simple laziness at the front, and the third man just always out of position. But Tempo, it really doesn't matter. This critique I'm going to be giving to Dustsucker, if a player like Tempo can just keep this rhythm going.
That's almost 3 consecutive players and positions that they've managed to keep the ball up in an aerial. I don't know where they're finding the boost. They must be taking it from Nami Brigade. As 0 second goes by, Zamberg maybe with the buzzer beater. Daiki with just enough to keep it away. Danska with the shot, kept alive. Chance on the counter. CB cut out by Tempo. Morgan bumped away, and Daiki can't control it well enough. I called it, and it's happened. Overtime on Forbidden Temple. I assumed it as well. It was going to be a curse and someone was going to score, but thankfully it hasn't happened, and this game finally has become a series to watch.
Absolutely so, and Morgan's going to try and have a brief vacation in the orange half, as throughout the entire of the past 5 minutes, I'm not sure we've seen this Nami Brigade roster lodge at all in the Dustsucker half, bar 2 silly counter-attacks given away by their opposition. And now it's time for Nami Brigade to reconsider their options and how they can actually break away from their own defence. And I feel this strategic manner of playing is leaving them so open to just not being able to break out. They don't have those aggressively minded players on the field thinking, you know what, I'm going to stay upfield and wait for a pass. Maybe something like that is what's required at the moment.
Maybe, but much like money, goals, you'll get them any way you can. And I'm sure now it won't be too unhappy about the fact they got them on big counters, big mistakes from Dustsucker. That seems to be what they've had to rely on. It's barely any time on offense. Is still continuing to not have much time as Zambo with just enough boost to find his teammate in the middle. Maybe the fake out, maybe the flip over. Oh my goodness! He turned around like a half breezy or something like that. Looked beautiful. Faked out the passing option as well and manages to get back not quite in time. A quick counter be the third death knell for Dustsucker in game 2. Great control from CB, you've got to say, to navigate, to slalom around that defender, find his teammate in Morgan, who picks up his hat trick, and 5 saves to his name as well. Fantastic defense from Nami Brigade in this second game, and the just reward is a tie series.
We do have a tied series indeed, but I'm smiling because I know deep down inside this Dustsucker side, they knew they threw that one away, and they are not going to be happy with themselves. There were so many occasions where just that tiny bit more solidity and neutral play would have secured them the victory. But you know what? Credit to Nami. They held their ground, and even though they didn't have to particularly do much on the offensive end to put those goals away, they did exactly that.
Some of the recoveries in defense from Nami were insane in this game, especially Morgan. I already called out 5 saves, but Charlie had 2, Daiki had 3. The amount of pressure they were put under, still managing to hold on, get those counter-attacking goals, to have that wherewithal to not only handle the pressure of such consistent offense from Dustsucker, but also to think ahead and think forward into the next 2 or 3 steps in the game, get those counter-attacking plays out, and then have the ability to finish them off, especially as much as you can talk about Dustsucker throwing the game. Nam Brigade earned it. They snatched it from Dustsucker, and I think it was a deserved victory in game 2. But now they've got to keep this momentum up. Match point potential for both sides here on Urban Central, which is where you think maybe disruption starts to become the name of the game, cutting out that rotation, allowing no team to really consider, what they're able to do in terms of consistency. As I said with Dustsucker, they were great on offense, but they weren't able to push through and enough to get through that non-brigade defense. Now it just depends on whether or not their offense has lost confidence in itself. As we get kicked off with game 3 here, and with that comeback from Nam Brigade, I'm really starting to root for them.
Absolutely so, and I'll be doing exactly the same, because at the moment they've seemed almost down and out, but as I talked about, bar those almost fluke moments with the counter-attacks, they haven't given us too much, as a shot is laced towards the upper 90. Should have been converted by Charlie B, but he's going to try and keep this offense going and find a teammate central as Morgan clambers up high, and CB just about dunked away by the defense as a touch is going to come through. Is it going to go in? You know what? I was just holding my breath to wait for it to happen. I was like, surely it's going to go in at some point.
Just how slow this went. I thought, okay, CB Morgan double committing, bad decision, but Daiki's just right there. He has enough boost. He can get it over the defense, and it's enough. Nami Brigade take a lead here. It's such a great way to do it. I think this is the first time they've taken a lead in the series. First to score, of course. Break that duck. Crucially important for them. Match point would give them so much confidence, so much belief in themselves. And I mean, it's something that I was going to mention in the last game, didn't get the chance. The fine margins of the defense that Nam Brigade were able to put on. If they didn't have like 5-10 boost as much, if they had 5-10 boost less on so many of those plays, it could have been a cricket score with the amount of times that Dustsucker had a shot. So just the precision and the boost retention has been so impressive. And if they continue to do this here with a strong lead, maybe a 2-goal lead would help them out, then I really think they're becoming a problem that Dustsucker are struggling to deal with.
Absolutely, and at this level, there shouldn't be a player with any compromises, and boost control is certainly a name in the game if you want to keep up with the tempo and the pace of the play, and Nami Brigade have done a good job of doing exactly that, as Charlie B is going to touch a ball high to himself and hopefully work a ball middle for his teammates as ball comes flying out from Tempo, well controlled to a teammate on the opposing end. So ball comes central back towards Tempo, striking above the net, just touched to the side by Charlie B.
And they had a decent chance there. Stussucker the passing, finding each other just a little bit too slow, and they're all caught out in this corner as Morgan attempts the counter attack, but loses spell over the ball. It's Charlie B to try and fix this problem back through this corner. Dyke with just enough boost to win the 50, but Dansku is in the right position to flick it back over. So Charlie's going to whiff that ball as Zamberg through the corner is going to cut out Morgan, who assumed that was going to fly across the goal net of the first time of asking, but Charlie with a decent counter, not quite enough boost to do much with it, flies past the ball, still gets possession somehow as Tempo is the only one he can find. Dyke to keep up this offense, but it's a great clear from Dansku to find Tempo back to the corner. Charlie B read it all day though, great defense.
And a great read off the sidewall as well. It's certainly looking uncomfortable, but the confidence certainly there for this Nami Brigade roster as the ball comes forward from Charlie B, hopefully aiming for a 50 or a dunk as a best case. Dansku just about reaching over, tiptoeing the ball over his own end, and Phil Charlie B is going to get back just in time to deal with this one. What could have ended up in early disaster for Nami Brigade has worked out in their direction as Daiki, lunging for that double touch, cannot make it stick.
Something I think really changed for Nami Brigade from the first and the second game is their ability to be the first man, to get in front of the ball sooner and not have to be reactive and just hope that they can get the better play on top of Dustsucker. Of course, it is still not a one-goal game. It is an equal game as they're caught out on the counter this time. Dustsucker get one straight past Dansky with a free shot. Was crossbar down, still mighty close to not going in, and I think Morgan might have been there in time to stop it had it not been on the crossbar, but unfortunately for them, it is a one-goal, 1-1 game, even a tie, equal game, and maybe looking towards another overtime, sans a curse caused by me.
I was going to say, you can't get away with saying that twice as Tempo negates your comment in an instant. Sorry about that, Vexer, but let's have another look at this. Charlie B, it was a difficult read to make, and Tempo striking for that lower right-hand net. Completely unattended, it must be said.
Definitely didn't do that on purpose. No, not smiling ear to ear.
Not at all.
Dustsucker have taken a lead once again. Dansku is going to miss this ball, however, though Charlie B to try and keep up that offense. Daikie's a little far back, which will probably allow Dustsucker to get back into position, as they do. Tempo to get it back up the field, but I've seen it quite a lot in this game. Both sides just throwing the ball away, and with not much boost to follow up for a second touch, isn't allowing possession to flourish. This one, a dead ball in the midfield, won out by Morgan, but Zamberg is in position to push it back into the corner. Daikie to catch him up. Both Nam Brigade, second man and third man, both in the midfield, desperately looking to get that equaliser back. They did it on Forbidden Temple. Can they do it again on Urban Central? That demo's not going to help us. Tempo to the backboard. Charlie B won't be there. Neither will his teammate. Maybe faked it out, unless the communication was off. Zamberg could have got to that. It's Dansku to keep it in this corner. Zamberg the first to find it. He's got a teammate in position as well, but CB does well, as he always seems to do, to clear it out. This one, I heard the touch, but it still stayed blue. Tempo can't get back to it, but Morgan can. That's the equaliser with 20 seconds left to go. I definitely heard that ball get touched, but it didn't go on target, so it didn't really matter. What an equaliser.
Well, I was just about to praise Dustsucker for how well they were keeping the ball out the grasp of their opposition. Unfortunately, in the dying seconds, a space was found by the name of Nami Brigade, and unfortunately the defense crumbled at the last minute. Could have been touched, wasn't touched, even though it looked like it from our end, as Zamberg hoofs a ball down clear just to find some space at the final dying seconds. Can they generate something in this final stint of play? It's going to be Tempo if anyone's going to do it. Looking for that triple touch. Just about saved by Morgan.
What? How in the world? I mean, I know Nami's defense can be brilliant, but that was phenomenal from Morgan. He was like a statue, just waiting. He knew where exactly it was going to go and was ready for it. This one sent flying back across the field. Our second OT of this series, second consecutively from a 2-2 position. And Nami Brigade took the first one. Can they do it again? Unless Tempo can get a bump here. Not going to be enough. Morgan with enough to get the air dribble over, but it won't be too much more. Gets a decent 50. No one wants to commit. I think Daiki expected to go through the corner, and now he's forced to defend this one. Got plenty of time and boost, though. Not going to be too much of a problem. Sends it across the field. Switching the sides is generally the best option if you're not in a good position, but it's not a good position anyway. As a great bump comes through, Tempo to find his brace, and Dustsucker to take match point. Oh, I feel so bad for Morgan. He was right there, and then he wasn't. Just a disappearing act.
Maybe so, but Dustsucker were the team to push themselves across the finish line, and I was looking at Charlie B's perspective at the dying seconds there, and I knew he could have made that save. I knew he could have got up and touched it. I could see him flicking his camera stick, like having a look and peering out the windows, just having a look around and thinking, is there someone going for this ball? By then it's too late. The shot's already come through and it's an open net for Dustsucker, but commiserations to Nami Brigade, but it's not over yet. They have something left to give, it must be said, and Dustsucker, they weren't as demanding in that match as prior.
Gets the best and the worst of us. Hesitation is a hole in the head or a goal in the net, and as you said, CB hesitating there. Maybe trusting his teammate Morgan to get that touch, but he didn't exist anymore, so Dustsucker take the lead of this series. At least a game 4 to come, maybe another game 5, which, I mean, you could argue that's Nami Brigade's territory. Dustsucker, when they were there, they lost. So whether or not this is going to go the distance will come down to Nami Brigade's resilience, their ability to rally back. We saw it in game 2. Whether or not game 4 is the same situation, I'm afraid to say, I'm afraid to call it, as much as I've been calling curses throughout this series tonight. This one I really don't want to affect too much, so I just want to let the gameplay speak for itself.
Absolutely, and I believe that last game that we just watched was a showing of near professionalism in terms of the way these two teams were approaching the play. They really weren't throwing risk, you know, just to free will and hoping something will stick. It was actually a very methodical approach from both of these teams, and I think it's telling of the respect they've now gained from each other after their prior lessons, it must be said, as Daiki strikes the ball long downfield, and Daiki's going to be up nice and quickly. Zamberg with an awkward tip back. Is Dansku there? It's clumsy from the back of Dustsucker, and that touch certainly not what was required from Zamberg.
Yeah, and this play anything but professional. Dansku does his utmost best, but he's just too far away from that ball. Coming off his own back ball with no boost to his name. One of the worst positions you can find yourself in Rocket League, defending a shot like that. Morgan will be happy to take it, looking for another hat-trick, I'm sure, to at least secure a game 5. As Dansku to try and respond, but it's stopped once again by Daiki. Another one back to the midfield, stopped by CB. Morgan demoed out another, but it fell to Zamberg, couldn't get the shot away. Still in this blue half, still right in front of the blue net, and CB acts extremely recklessly to put that to his own backboard, but may have been necessary to keep it out. And we've seen this before. We saw this last game, Nami Brigade's crazy defense, but they couldn't hold on for that OT. And it's such a worrying position to be in for the players, for all the fans of this team, knowing that they've got decent enough offense, but just not enough defense even, but not enough offense to secure a game, to take control of it. And Dustsucker have clearly proven they're capable of doing that, so I don't know if their chances are all that positive right now.
Maybe not at the moment, but I feel as if Dustsucker have gone back to their Game 2 antics of let's take the bulldozer approach, which is just send everything, including the kitchen sink, at the opposition. And at the moment, it's not working at all. They cannot find a single crack in this Nami Brigade defense as a result of just their flamboyance, it must be said, as a touch from Tempo is going to see the ball over the bar, dropping down to Morgan now as Tempo is going to receive the pressure straight back in his direction. Zamberg really trying to force the agenda once again and just barge his way through the defenses. There's finally a collapse with a tiny little double commit, but Charlie B has certainly done enough to void his team of that pressure.
But it's such ramshackle defense, seeing it so many times now where Nami Brigade have had to go backwards towards their own net or towards their own corner, and that screams mispositioning. That screams like they're not in the right place in enough of the time to cut out more chances than Dustsucker have had, as another one goes crossbar, another one crossbar, and eventually they get one under Zamberg to do it. But just here, Nambrigi barely getting a touch on the ball. The defense is just so skittish at times, and whether or not they should or shouldn't go, whether or not they have the boost to go is an important factor as well. You said it yourself, Dustsucker, with that bulldozer mindset. That's not just about getting into the ball, that's about getting it into the back lines of your opponent, stealing out their boost, making it so much more difficult to survive these attacks, these offensive stints. And they managed to do that, kill them off at least once. A tie game once more. Could be 2-1 for Narn Brigade, but a great save by Dansko to keep it out. Oh yeah, we forgot. Dustsucker, they've got a defense of their own.
Yeah, they do. It's kind of hard to believe, isn't it, after our prior antics with the counter-attacking situations? But Dustsucker, here they are, giving us a good show, as Tempo is not providing us a good show. He's pinching it straight back to the opposition as Morgan is going to reclaim some possession of his own. Strike above the crossbar, and Dansku absolutely comfortable to deal with this one as he's dancing across to the side, all happy. And Charlie, well, he's only gone and thrown possession right back to the other end and is finally going to reclaim on his own backboard.
Covered well enough, but got his boost stolen as well. Tempo to keep up that play, not going to be enough. Daiki with crossfield air dribble. Charlie B to push it to the backboard. Zandberg should deal with this well enough. Opts to leave it for Dansku. A big demo, and Tempo cuts some space open for Morgan to work with. Gets it over one. Tempo's not back in time. Crossbar down in. Morgan, 2 goals. Just as easy as you like.
Morgs, that is a gorgeous finish if I've ever seen one. I'm not sure there's a single person in the viewing party right now which could have thought that could have been put away better. Fantastic shot from Morgan. And, well, if there's ever a good time to try and push an advantage in your favour, it's about now, in the latter half of one of your final games potentially in the competition. That is the time to show your individual prowess, as Morgs once again with a loose ball in the midfield is going to strike. Not quite the same accuracy we saw from him just seconds ago.
Such a rare thing to see as well, getting that much space. Ball left alone by Dustsucker for so long, they might not have even seen Morgan until the last second, but they got the save nevertheless. Dansku is going to force CB to make a save of his own. Morgan, great play underneath, a brilliant 50 to keep it going. Whoa, will get the boost, I believe so. Yeah, he got the mid boost there to keep it going. Dyke with a great fake, but Dansku to follow up. That's over the third man. Zandberg is going to be there to find the equalizer with 30 seconds left to go. Once more a 2-2 game, and with that goal, you've really got to think Dustsucker, they've got the favour here. They've got that extra game, backup, that defence to wonder, if we lose this one, if we throw it again, will we have that ability to come back? But really, it's Narn Brigade that the onus is on.
And that's one of the first times I've seen Nami Brigade be truly loose. That is another fantastic finish from Morgan. Bosh.
The speed, the pure pace to get to that ball first. You just know that Charlie B called it. Corner read. Morgan was up already, well before the defense. Getting that lead back again is so crucial, but it could be Tempo to find the equalizer, a rare miss, and it allows Daiki to get the double save. Zandberg not in position to win that 50 for a second time. Dansku does follow up. Wayward. Zandberg is wayward as well. Their shot accuracy is failing them at the most crucial of moments. They need another for OT. It's past another one. Morgan, no! The worst possible outcome. It happened to the Unforbidden Temple, and it has again. Morgan with the own goal, but he knows nothing about it. There's nothing he can do. An equalizer with 5 seconds left. This kickoff could decide everything.
And I know we're looking at that last defender who ultimately put the ball in off his own accord, but Charlie B, I'm staring right at you. You played the optimist in the corner. He drove forwards past the ball. He was like, this'll be all right. Left it to the teammates. Bosh. Goal has gone in, and for him it's going to be heartbreak, and hopefully he can redeem himself with another demo and an open shot for Morgan. And I could see it coming from a mile away. Charlie B, certain redemption after his prior flaws. Demos one, cuts across, somehow has managed to murder the last defender. Beautiful work.
Okay, I know it's a meme in the community watching it, that this is all scripted, that this is all predetermined. But I'm starting to believe, after what just happened, you literally were saying what was happening before it happened. Charlie B getting that redemption, getting an unbelievably well-timed demo. We knew we couldn't get the shot across. Get rid of the defender. Your teammate's going to be there. Morgan gets 4 this time. 4 for 5, especially. The efficiency that this man is able to put in offense is incredible. And it's given them such a stepping stone, such a foundation here. If they can sort out their defensive issues, their woes, it was something I was going to mention. You were talking about it with Charlie B, the optimist, you know, thinking, oh, my teammate's going to get it. I don't need to commit to that. I don't need to make a whole meal of it. That's the other side of it. That's the seesaw of trust, isn't it? He assumes his teammate's going to be there. He has such intrinsic trust in them to get the play that he doesn't commit. He doesn't double commit, especially. We've seen that quite a lot throughout this series, that both sides, sometimes they get it wrong. They miscommunicate. Everybody does it. It happens to the best of us. But at the most crucial moments, especially in defense, that Charlie B was doing that, he could have avoided this heartache as it is for them especially, but for us as well. Getting to that overtime, those 2 kickoffs could have decided it. We've seen kickoff goals from Dustsucker tonight, and that could have gone exceptionally wrong for Narn Brigade, but they managed it. They've got to Game 5. They've got to Champions Field. We are here once again. Both of them know this field like it's their second home, maybe even their first home at this point, and whichever side goes through, I don't know if I could say they deserve it, but they've certainly earned it.
Maybe so, as we're well underway in what is definitely the final game in this series. I know we've said that there's been a couple potential final games, but those have all been avoided, luckily for our viewing pleasure. As Zamberg over to Tempo. Can he strike with an early double touch of his own? Oh. How could you doubt this man's capabilities? He has so much time and space in the air. Another beautifully well-worked finish.
As his namesake suggests, that tempo was just too much to deal with, and CB himself couldn't do it. The squishy save attempt, the bounce shot was just too quick. And Dustsucker take an early lead, maybe 2, straight off kickoff. I mentioned it in the last game, how dangerous they can be from those set-piece positions. They managed to get it through to the goal line, but Morgan is in enough of a position, and he's got the mental fortitude to be ready. He's got that calm nature to keep it out, and maybe a chance to get another one here as Tempo's forced to save this one. CB with the slow shot, but it pulls out too. It could be awkward for them to deal with. Dyke with enough boost to go up, but not much more. As he gets a pass across, in fact, Charlie B's there, pulls a triple commit. Morgan taking his time, and this methodical nature from Narn Brigade, as beautiful as it is to watch at times, you really think if they moved just a 1 or 2% quicker there, they might have got a shot through.
And I have to agree with you, there's plenty of space to work with, and Dykey was able to get a fingertip on a save, but I think you're absolutely right, they just need to pull the trigger just that little bit more quickly. And for me, Morgan has been putting up an MVP performance pretty much all series long. He has undoubtedly been carrying his team through thick and thin, as he shoots on an almost unattended net, cannot quite convert.
Back up the field we go. Dustsucker couldn't quite control the pace there, but Zamberg did enough to 50 through the midfield. CB's forced up to get at least a touch away. There's a switching hands rather quickly here. A big whiff by Zamberg. May have been intentional to pull CB out, but it ends up in Morgan's hands, and now CB's already in position. Crossbar, Morgan there, but this time he can't finish it off. He was under pressure from a marauding defender there, but you've got to say at this level, that kind of chance cannot be missed.
Absolutely, and it was that backboard defender that missed in the first place to cause Morgan to play for the dunk, and well, didn't end up well. He ended up double touching just left of the post. Unfortunately for him, that chance is going to go begging as Tempo once again driving the offense for this Dustsucker side with his mechanical prowess. Charlie B. Charlie B, how have you worked this through? I'm going to have to watch this again, I'm not entirely sure, but Dustsucker, well, see you later.
Yeah, from what I could see, switching through the player perspectives there, Tempo was already upfield in the opponent's 100 boost pad, maybe turned ball cam off, thinking that was, you know, they were going to maintain possession, but then CB sneaks through, he gets way through the lines, Tempo almost gets one off kickoff again, but again, Morgan to deny a straight counter-attack. Does not quite come to fruition for Narn Brigade as Dykey misses off the back ball. Morgan to keep it alive though. CB is there to finish it off. Didn't even need the disruption. 2 quick goals. It's Charlie B this time to be the offensive onslaught as Tempo and Dansku both backflip. What just happened there? That was rarer than a unicorn. What?
I have absolutely no idea what just happened on the rear end of Dustsucker. Unfortunately, we're going to breeze straight past it through to the next kickoff, and unfortunately they can't capitalise after a bump comes through as Charlie B off to the ceiling. Now, well and truly in the driver's seat right now. I talked about how they are very, very smart players in dictating the tempo and the pace of the play. Unfortunately for Dustsucker, they are needing to create something from nothing at the moment.
Oh my God,
a fantastic shot! And what a fantastic save as well! But it doesn't matter! It's found the back of the net. That's what matters.
That was just a feast for the eyes. If I went to a museum for Rocket League, I would just expect to see that as a GIF on a wide screen of unbelievable, beautiful plays that did and didn't happen for both sides. CB with one of the greatest attempts at clearing these lines I've ever seen. Unfortunately, it kicked straight back out to the middle for Tempo to finish off one of the easiest chances he's going to have tonight. That could have gone absolutely either way, but again, a tie game with about 2 minutes left to go. Another 2-2. No big surprise. As Spook said in the upper final, you know, surprise Pikachu face. It's exactly what I expected. I didn't know if it was going to go to a game 5. You said it yourself. So much potential for either side to just completely take this by the reins with those match point potentials, but it's gone this distance. Expecting another OT. But with a minute left to go, absolutely anything can happen with what we've seen in this series. The field could explode for all I know.
Absolutely, it might just erupt right now and there will be a massive lava pool in front of the nets. Who knows what might happen, but either way, I feel this has been very much a sign of consistency for Nami Brigade, and Dustsucker, a team with so much left in the tank that they simply have not been showing, have not offered us in this lower final situation. A wonderfully well worked save. The shape certainly there as another shot comes through from Zambergen. Well, Dustsucker certainly can be considered the team with more potential in this matchup. If they don't make those silly little mistakes, they could be the team going through to the grand finals. Can they hold that level of consistency?
If you asked anyone at this level if a double commit is a sign that your opponent's going to score, they'd probably say yes. But the fact that Nami are getting away with some of these plays is ridiculous. Their ability to clear the ball to just the right position to not allow threat to occur from their opponent with 10 seconds left to go. It could be either team to kill this OT, kill the chances of the other, of a glimpse of the grand final. Still in this red half, however, CB's going to be beaten out by Tempo. That's so awful. Daikie's going to just about get a touch away. I don't know if that was ground or not, but it ends up being eventually, as for the final time tonight for one of these two teams, OT occurs, the third in succession. And I continually, no idea which way it's going to go, but it's been a fantastic series.
It has been, and now's the time for these two teams that the blood is going to be well and truly pumping. They know that any last mistake they make could be the end of their team's lives, as Dansku is going to take to the skies and get an important beat on one player, and Charlie B is going to work his way forwards and not just beat one but two players on the end of Dustsucker, over-aggressing to keep in the offense as Tempo once again relieving themselves of pressure, and they're just hoofing the ball long, trying to see if any cracks are emerging from this Nami Brigade roster. It's certainly not happening at the moment.
Well, that or they just don't want it in their half. They don't want it anywhere near their nets, as this one does end up near the Dustsucker net. Tempo to keep it out. Just about. Goal line heroics from him. Now trying to get one off the backboard, but he's going to be beaten by Morgan, the potential MVP of this series, although CB's really stepped up in this final game. 2 goals and 3 saves to his name. Desperate to make it a hat-trick in OT. Be that hero to take them to the promised land of the grand final, but it may be Tempo to get the double tap, maybe off the defender. They get away with it again. Nami Brigade to cool things down, control the pace, be methodical once more. Morgan to beat the first man, gets the second and the boost. Daikie's there to beat out Sandberg, but he committed early, cutting off that shooting angle. Maybe a risky tactic to opt for in this situation, but it's worked out in their favour. This one, trying to get a pass across to Dansku, maybe looking for the 1-2 option, but counter-attack crumbles. Zambo with another shot opportunity, but it's right back post. Morgan's right there. He gets demoed for his efforts. A double demo, a temporary 2v2, and it's going to be Daikie and CB to try and get it through, but thankfully for Dustsucker's sake, they get someone back in time, and I don't know what's going to happen when someone scores here. Psycho. confetti, I guess. Something crazy.
You'd hope so, because both of these teams currently putting in a shift to force their own agenda, as Morgan is going to get a delicate flick over one, only back to the hands of Zamberg with an important 50-50 to keep possession in the centre. Dansku back off now into the centre. A great touch from Tempo, followed up nicely by Zamberg, but no shooting opportunities for the time being. This Nami Brigade roster clearly showing their defensive shape and prowess, and you have to think an overtime situation like this is a situation certainly favouring the team in blue. Scrape my words out of my mouth. It doesn't matter. It's a wonderful finish from Zamberg.
What is that adjustment? To get the 50, must have thought for the splittest of seconds that he was not getting anywhere near that, but it's just dropped so